Welcome back. I'm your host, Yvonne, and you're listening to How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. We're going to dive into something today that might not be visible to you, something that could be limiting your earning potential, and you can't even see it. It's stored in your mind and your body, and it's that belief system driving your decisions to act or not act. Those decisions, whether or not costing you financially, have an opportunity cost. Perhaps you miss out on earning potential. Perhaps you work more than you want to work. Perhaps you're working on vacation. Whatever it is for you, we want to shift what you don't want and create what you do. And when we can change the beliefs and the system that's operating in your body underneath your conscious awareness, you can really change your life. Let's begin. What if the money you're leaving on the table in your business is something that you don't even realize? Perhaps you have a really good offer, but you think it's not good enough, or you think, I don't know how to sell, or I don't like to sell. Not because you don't like talking to people, but because of what they might think of you when you try to sell them something. Somewhere underneath your conscious awareness, you're making decisions. You're choosing to speak or not speak from a belief that there isn't enough, or you're not enough, or there's a fear of judgment. Whatever it is, whether you believe there are not enough clients, there's not enough money, there's not enough opportunity, perhaps you don't have enough skills, whatever it is, where your mind believes there isn't enough, without you even consciously knowing it, your behavior changes. Some of it you do have conscious awareness of. I want to talk about the stuff you don't have conscious awareness of. When your body sends signals that you need to be on guard, you need to be super cautious, you need to be afraid. And sometimes you don't know why you hesitate on investments that could grow your business. Sometimes they're even no-brainers, right? Perhaps before the client even says no, you're thinking of what discount you're going to give because you have doubt in your value, or you doubt that they understand your value. Or perhaps you don't even ask for the sale. Perhaps you don't even make the call because you're worried that you might say the wrong thing or what they might think of you. Or perhaps you're doing everything yourself because you're afraid that if you hire someone, you might not be able to pay the bills. But that also might limit you from creating more revenue. Either way, that fear of the unknown is making the decision for you. And here's the part I really want you to understand. Your money mindset doesn't stay in your mind. It doesn't even stay in your body. It shows up in your pricing, your sales conversations, your hiring, your investing, your negotiations, your willingness to take intelligent risks, your energy, what people can sense, and ultimately, your revenue, your earning capability. So today we're not talking about abundance as some vague idea of thinking positively about money. We're talking about abundance as a business advantage. Because when you genuinely believe opportunities can be created, money can be generated, and you can trust yourself to navigate where things are uncertain, you'll operate very differently. And as you operate with an abundance mindset, with business advantage, your decisions positively compound. Today, we're going to realize how a scarcity mindset may be costing you money and time. We're going to recode the beliefs underneath it, and we're going to rewrite how you make decisions around revenue, opportunities, pricing, and your growth. So, underneath it all, which a lot of people don't understand, the foundation to do all those things hinges on the relationship you have with yourself. Because ultimately, the amount of abundance, whatever that abundance looks like, whether it's money or relationships, materials, confidence, whatever you want abundance of, the amount of it you allow into your business, into your life, has more to do with what you believe about your own value. So let's start with a question. I want to realize where this scarcity mindset is costing you. So where are you currently making business decisions because you're afraid there won't be another opportunity coming along? Are you hyper-focused on an opportunity because you can't see what might be coming? That question can reveal a lot. Imagine you have a prospect who is clearly not a great fit. They're questioning your price, they're demanding more than you normally provide, and somewhere inside of you, you know, this doesn't feel aligned. This doesn't feel right to me. But then your mind whispers, or perhaps yells, what if I don't get another client this month? This week, today? So you say, yes, I'll make it work. That's a scarcity mindset at play. Here's what's interesting. You may have technically created revenue, but what might that decision actually cost you? We've all had those situations where we signed something up that didn't feel right, and the return on the investment didn't pan out. We spent a lot more time, a lot more energy. If you have a team, a lot more team capacity, or it was a huge energy drain and your focus didn't allow for the opportunity to serve another client, perhaps one that is more aligned already in your portfolio, or perhaps one that was on their way to you. Maybe even future referrals become difficult. Perhaps this one that didn't feel right made sure that everybody knew that it wasn't the right fit in your reviews, in what they share with other people. A scarcity mindset often focuses on the money immediately in front of us. Abundance considers the opportunities that might not already be there. And that's really what opportunity cost is. If I take this thing that's not aligned right now, what might I not be able to create with the energy that I spend on it? It's a very different way of thinking. So now consider pricing. Maybe you know the value you create. But the moment someone hesitates, you start negotiating against yourself. I could probably give you 20% off. Why? Sometimes it's strategy, but sometimes it's the thought, the belief underneath your conscious that says, if I don't make this easier for them, they might leave. That single belief can cost a business an enormous amount of money over time. Think about what happens if you discount by 10% unnecessarily across dozens or hundreds of sales. It doesn't just affect your P&L, it affects your emotions. It affects your belief about the value that you bring. And it also affects how people think about you and your product. It shows up in more places than pricing. Maybe there's a salesperson you need to hire, but your mind sees the salary as money leaving the business instead of asking, what additional revenue might that person help create? Maybe there's a marketing channel that's been producing results, but you're afraid to invest because spending money before you have the guaranteed revenue feels unsafe. Or maybe you're on the other side. You buy another program, another tool, another opportunity, another investment, not because you've carefully evaluated it, but because you're afraid this might be the thing everyone else figures out before you. That's a fear too, a fear of missing out, a fear of falling behind, a fear that there's not enough and you need to get yours before somebody else. That's scarcity too. Both come from the same place. Fear. Fear that opportunity is limited. Now let's go deeper. Why might someone have that belief? Even if they've had success, why might it still be whispering to them? Maybe you grew up hearing, we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard, save a lot, and when you retire, then you can enjoy yourself. Maybe you didn't hear those words, but money created tension in your family. Or maybe success got you praise and your mistakes were heavily criticized, and you learned to equate safety with something that guaranteed praise. Maybe you simply learned that security could disappear quickly. Children form conclusions. Our minds are like this complicated prediction system. What do I need to do to keep this human safe today? When I say mind, I don't just mean mind. I mean your whole nervous system, all the intricate systems in your body that keep you alive, not necessarily that help you thrive. They predict what will keep you safe. And most of us have been conditioned with believing money equals safety. Fast forward, that child grows up, becomes an entrepreneur. Every revenue dip doesn't just register, a business problem. It can feel like a physical threat to their livelihood, to their very being. Every investment can feel like a danger. Every lost sale can feel, I'm saying feel, like physically feel, before your mind creates thoughts or words, it can feel bigger, heavier, scarier than it really is. And that matters because when the nervous system perceives danger, it has us narrowing our vision, narrowing our thinking, focusing on surviving that very next thing. We protect, we react, we look for certainty. One thing that I've realized now as being a business owner myself, when you shift from that W-2 paycheck, which now feels much less certain and safe than it used to for sure, but as an entrepreneur, building a business often requires exactly the opposite of the certain thing, of the safe thing, of the overly protective, reactive thing. Building a business requires creativity. And in order to feel and be creative, we need to feel safe and exploring and taking not risky risk, I'll call it that, but thoughtful risk. To have not just short-term reactions, but balancing long-term thinking with short-term actions. A little bit of planning and a little bit of experimentation. It's a balance, it's a mixture. So the first step is to realize, where is your fear of having enough money actually preventing you from creating more of it? Perhaps press pause, write that down, and meditate on it. Where is your fear of either losing or having enough money actually preventing you from creating more of it? Once we have an awareness and realize this, feeling it in our body and our minds, the next step is going to be recode. To choose what we want rather than letting fear dictate creating really what we don't want. So let's now recode. Let's create our money through value. Let's shift the belief. One of the most powerful abundance beliefs an entrepreneur can develop is this: money isn't something that I just receive. It's something I can create by creating value. I don't have to hoard it. I don't have to fear it. I have to be able to create. And to create, I need to feel safe inside. And that can be a catch-22. What most entrepreneurs don't realize is that simply having money doesn't create safety. That's why that relationship with yourself that I alluded to at the beginning of this podcast, of most of our focus at Limitless You. If you want to learn more, check out some free resources. You can go to unlocklimitlessyou.com. To create safety, it's not acquiring things outside of you. It's connecting to what is inside of you so that you can create, innovate, and create something that others value. Not because you're doing something that's unnatural. No. Because you're doing something that's aligned and feels natural, the value will become natural. Think how different this feels. Scarcity says, I need to protect the money I have because I don't know when more is coming. I need to do perhaps what doesn't feel aligned to me because if I don't, I won't have enough money. Notice how that feels. I have to do something unnatural to get money to feel safe. When you do things that are unnatural, that does not feel safe. Abundance says, I can be myself. I can feel natural. I can create more value, solve more problems, and generate more revenue by being myself, by attuning to my gifts. How does that feel to you? This isn't Pollyanna. This is attuning to your gifts. The gifts you alone were given to put together into this beautiful puzzle that is you, that's limitless you, to share with the world. So I'm not saying ignore reality. I'm saying create it. That doesn't mean spending irresponsibly. It doesn't mean ignoring cash flow. It simply means you stop treating money like a finite pile that can only shrink, and the only way to keep it is to do something you don't want to do. You are so blessed to be an entrepreneur. You are a vessel that can deliver this extraordinary value that is free from most of the red tape and politics that you will find in corporate America. You actually get to attune and to develop your extraordinary ability. You can create. And by doing that, you'll attract people that value it. Not because you have to chase them or convince them. You attract them because you create something that's unique. You can learn, you can be responsive, you can improve an offer, one that feels more aligned. You can choose the problems that you want to create solutions for, not because you have to, but because you want to. You get to build the relationships, create the partnerships and the connections that feel good to you, that you naturally choose and want, where your mind, this is so important, guys. What might you do that when you just think about doing it, it creates great appeal to you in your mind? And then when you think about having done it, it creates even deeper satisfaction. That's the magic, not in just making money for the sake of money. No, that's when it becomes finite. That's when it becomes a hustle. That's when it becomes hard. I want it to be easier for you. I want money to be generated because you generate value that feels aligned to you. This is a very different internal position. So I want you to actually now see there will be more opportunities. It doesn't mean every opportunity, right? But what I want you to ask, is this the right opportunity for me? Does it feel aligned? This distinction can save you from some very expensive mistakes, from either action or inaction. If someone offers you an investment, an acquisition, a partnership, a deal, if you are letting fear and scarcity run your decision making, you might think, I have to decide now. I have to take it now. I have to make it work. Or I have to work hard. Abundance gives you enough internal safety to create some space between this trigger in your body and the action and the decision. Space to say, I can slow down to speed up what I want. Does this fit my strategy? Does this fit who I am? Does it embody my values? What's the upside? What's the downside? What assumptions am I making that I actually don't have to make? I can use thoughtful communication to validate, to create awareness. What is actually true? What does the data say? And if I walk away, do I trust myself that I can create another opportunity? If the answer is yes, then that's abundance. If you trust yourself and you say, if this does not align, it's okay. I'll be fine. Oh, that rhymes. I like that. Let's keep that. If this does not align, I'll be fine. I trust myself. And I trust myself with money and with my decisions. I trust myself to make thoughtful decisions, to embrace the lessons from my mistakes, and to know that I can continue to create. Now, you're not trying to eliminate uncertainty. Then you might eliminate the upside. What you're doing is you're increasing your ability to operate inside the uncertainty. That's a huge difference. That's a game changer. Now, let's take action by rewriting, turning abundance into revenue. I want you to talk about something with others on this, something that you take away from this episode. And what I hope you take away from this episode, at least one of the things, is how does this abundance mindset, not the one you read about in books, but the one that you can begin to feel in your very bones, in your system, how does the way I think about what's available to me actually create more revenue? It changes your behavior, right? And you know behavior creates results. Why not use our energy to create behaviors, to create the results we want? Let's start with sales. Imagine you walk into a sales conversation thinking, I need this deal. Need is the key word. As soon as I said it, I felt it. I bet you did too. Your energy changes. You may talk too much, explain too much, oversell. Pot calling the kettle black here. Push too hard, discount too early. You forget to be connected and curious. What is your intention? Do you really want your intention to be make the sale, make the money? If you do, that's what your energy will say. And how do you think it feels to the person on the receiving end of that? By focusing your intention and your energy on that, you prevent that very thing. So how about we enter into the sale, the call, with a totally different intention? One that creates value for who you're having the conversation with. And guess what? When you create value for them, money and revenue will flow. Stop focusing on getting to the yes. Start being in this state of curiosity. Curiosity of what do they actually need and value. Perhaps take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And begin entering the conversation thinking, there are more opportunities. My job is to determine whether I can genuinely create value for this person in a way that feels aligned to how I want to create value. Mutual alignment. Wow. I feel very different. Do you? I bet you'll listen differently. You'll ask questions that are focused on your intention. Your energy will feel different to the individual. You'll be genuine. Which isn't that what we want? To be able to be genuine and authentic and create mutual benefit? And if there's not mutual benefit, you'll be more willing to say, we're probably not the right fit. And here's the paradox. When you get less attached to forcing the sale, you often become much better at, I'm going to just put it in air quotes, quote unquote, selling. Because you're not really selling anymore. You're aligning. You're exchanging value. When you have confidence in your capabilities and the value you deliver, that's magnetic. That's attractive. Clarity is attractive. Belief in your own value is attractive. Magnetic. Trustworthy. If you don't trust yourself, it's going to be very hard for the other person to trust you. And if you do manipulate them into trusting you, even when you don't trust yourself, it's probably not going to end as well for you both. And that has a long-term cost. So now let's talk about pricing. This is interesting. This is something that I experienced and feel so much better about than I ever have before. Not because I made anything up, but because people are communicating the value that the work I do at Limitless You is giving. So I don't have to guess. And I don't want you to guess either. I want you to deeply believe that there are enough people out there that will value what you authentically have to offer. When you believe that, right, you're not so tempted to lower your price when somebody objects. An abundance-minded entrepreneur will ask, not, is the price wrong? No, they're going to say, what have I done in my communication? Perhaps I haven't clearly communicated the value, not because I'm convincing. Perhaps there are questions they've been too afraid to ask. So rather than changing your price, right? You don't say, what would be a good price for you? How much can I lower it? It would be, is there something that you haven't asked or something I haven't clearly communicated that helps you see the value, the return on investment? They're completely different problems. Maybe the price isn't the problem. It's more, where is there not alignment on the value because there hasn't been enough information? It's not always easy to convey to somebody, right, in a short period of time, the value. So rather than trying to go through everything, ask, get curious. What do they need to know? Here's another area I want you to consider in your business: investment. Let's say you're considering spending $20,000 on marketing. Wow. For some of you, that's nothing. And for some of you, that's unimaginable. A scarcity mindset can say, that's $20,000 disappearing from my bank account that I cannot afford. Abundance mindset doesn't automatically say, oh yeah, spend it. No, it's not reaction to either fear or lack of thought. It's a thoughtful question. What return could this capital create? That shifts you from thinking as a protector of a limited, finite source of money to an investor. You evaluate, what's a customer cost to acquire? What's my conversion rate? What is the expected revenue? What's the timeline? Not just based upon what's happened in the past, but what's possible. What do I see happening in my own industry? Or what could I learn from other industries? you begin to open your mind to creating, how might I create a return on this investment in the lowest risk possible in the least amount of time possible? And then your energy shifts, and your emotional relationship with money, which sounds odd, right? But it's there, no longer prevents you from using it intelligently. Sometimes the abundant mindset decision is don't invest. This is just the fear of missing out, or this is just the fear of I have to do something now. That's not wise. That's important. An abundance mindset isn't saying spin, 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 everything works. There will always be this easy path. No. The abundance mindset I want you to have is to just be free from the fear. I want you to be able to be creative, innovative, thoughtful. And the best way to do that is to get rid of the fear. So ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And is that happening right now? What do the facts say would require for that to happen? Quite often when you sit and you just look at, what am I afraid of? Is it happening right now? What would it take for it to happen? A lot of times you walk through it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's definitely not going to happen. But your mind has you thinking and feeling the worst case scenario. So my whole point is don't allow fear to decide for you. So here's a practical framework you can use for your next meaningful money decision. You can ask yourself 3 questions. This is a bit odd. Write these down. First question, what decision would fear make? Why do I have you ask that? Well, you're not thinking that, but quite often that's what's driving our decisions. What decision would fear make? Maybe fear would say, discount it so it's a no-brainer. Maybe fear would say, don't spend any money. Maybe fear would say, chase that next opportunity that's right there before it disappears. I don't know. Listen to your fear. What is it asking you to do? Is what it's asking you to do because of what you're afraid of real? Next question. What decision would an abundant-minded me see? What might I create? Not necessarily how it would make it happen. Not necessarily that it's already there. What decision would an abundance-minded me see? Maybe you could just see a few more options. Maybe you could see a longer time horizon. Maybe you could see a better way to negotiate, or perhaps a whole different source of revenue. When I meditate, and I meditate on a fear that I might have, and I think about, where is it coming from? What is it asking me to do? What might be possible if I didn't have the fear? Ideas I have never even thought of directly and indirectly come to me. not because I forced them, because I cleared out the fear energy to allow them to flow. I see you practicing this and doing it now. And then the third question, this is for the skeptics and the critics. What does the data support? Again, not necessarily data from your past. Perhaps it's data from the market. Perhaps it's data from somebody that was an innovator that tried something nobody else believed in. Maybe the data says you actually can invest just a little to test out the waters. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. I don't know what your answer is, but I want you to allow space to ask, what data might I consider? And what does it support? That's where this creative, abundant mindset becomes powerful. Combining this internal freedom, this capacity to open up to creativity and to innovation, and then to see, what can I touch out there? What can I create? That's where good business decisions come from. That's where the thing that nobody else could see comes from. That's where your unique, authentic, limitless you creates magic. There's another piece I want to talk about because this is where abundance can dramatically affect growth. I want us to rewrite your revenue ceiling, what you think is possible. Sometimes limitation isn't whether you can make more money. It's whether making more money feels safe. What? So many people think, of course I want more money. Always more, more, more. Well, not always. Does your subconscious agree? And I've actually had this conscious conversation with a lot of people, and it surprised me in the beginning, and now it doesn't surprise me at all. Let's say your business reaches a revenue level you've never experienced before. You would assume you just want more. But sometimes something strange happens in your body, right? Sometimes expenses suddenly increase, and so you get worried and you take your foot off the gas, or you become distracted because so many things are happening now. Or maybe you worry that you can't keep it up. And then what are people going to think about you? Or maybe you worry it's going to be too much stress, so I'm not even going to go there because I can't handle it. You create unnecessary problems. Why? Not because they're logical, not because you're consciously, strategically thinking, how do I create problems? It's because the subconscious likes what's familiar. And if this is new territory for you, this is a new echelon, a new tier, it can become uncomfortable. Perhaps, like we talked about earlier, you grew up hearing or believing people with a lot of money are greedy. Maybe your mom said, oh, those filthy rich, and never even registered to you, but you don't want to be filthy. Or maybe making money requires incredibly hard work, and more money means more work, and I don't want to work anymore. Or maybe if I'm more successful, people can't relate to me and they won't like me. I don't know what it is for you. We could always figure it out. If you want to book a free session at unlocklimitlessyou.com/call to begin to explore what limiting mindset might be at play in your subconscious. But for now, let's think about the conflict that might be silently growing. Consciously, you say, I want more money, I want more revenue. Subconsciously, your body, your mind, unaware to you, or perhaps it's whispering loud enough you can hear it, might believe more revenue might cost me something important. So when you have two conflicting beliefs, I want more money, but no, I don't want more money because it's scary. The subconscious often wins. Even if you are fighting it, which I know a lot of you have felt, right? Logically, you know what you want, but you just can't make yourself do the things. That's the subconscious winning. That's your body, the prediction model that it created based upon your past that you may or may not be aware of, wins. That's why increasing revenue isn't always about another marketing strategy or another CRM or even buying more data, more clients. Sometimes you have to become comfortable with you, the real you, the one who creates, receives, and manages how the money flows in and out of your life. So I want you to ask yourself, if my business doubled in the next 12 months, what about that would feel uncomfortable? Ask yourself this not because you want to attract it, you want to bring it to conscious awareness. If my business doubled in the next 12 months, what about that would feel uncomfortable? That's a revealing question. Maybe you'd need to lead a bigger team. Maybe people would expect more from you. Maybe you'd worry about, how am I going to keep all that money and not lose it? Maybe you think, I'm going to have to work more hours. Just maybe you think, this has come up with several of the clients I've worked with. They felt guilty for having more than their parents or their family, the people they care about. There's the opportunity. Those things don't have to keep you held back. Your business will often grow only as far as you're comfortable allowing it to grow. So if you feel that there's been something holding you back and you don't know what it is and you can't quite seem to unlock yourself from it, that's where the next step happens. Stay tuned for the next episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Or if you can't wait and you're ready, go ahead and go to unlocklimitlessyou.com/call and let's set up your first free session to begin to discover and unlock the limitless you and your limitless earning potential. Here's what I hope you walk away with today. Making more money in your business doesn't mean you have to work harder or longer hours. Perhaps, just perhaps, it means creating a deeper connection with yourself, with your true capabilities, ones that feel aligned, that you choose to do, that you actually get excited about using, capabilities that you believe in, that you value, that you can communicate to others easily and effortlessly how they can value them as well. And when you know that what you can bring to the table is enough, you'll know how to value it. You'll know how to communicate it. And I believe you'll attract others who believe in it. if something in this episode unlocked something in you, resonated with you, inspired you to get curious about you, please share it with somebody that you know needs it. You're not alone. And if you want to take the next step, just book a free session at unlocklimitlessyou.com/call, and we'll begin the journey to uncover what might be driving the patterns, the beliefs that have been limiting you, so you can stop leaving money, opportunity, and growth on the table. The bigger risk, the scary thing isn't booking the call, and it's definitely not getting to know what feels good to you. The bigger risk is spending another moment, another month, another year letting the same subconscious signals create patterns in your life that are impacting your decisions that are holding you back. I look forward to our next visit, whether it's next week on how to be happier for entrepreneurs or when you set up your session. I'm ready to see what you can offer this world, because you are limitless. The true you is amazing.